that's what he does. I mean, he gives Israel what she wants. He does not fighting with her. He tries to contend with her and tries to bring things to reason, and he talks to Israel, his people. What he does. I mean, often he does. He tries to talk to us, and we resist him. And he just at a point in time, he just says, okay, well, that's it. No more talking. I'm not gonna have any more conversations because obviously we're gonna do what we want to do. So we can't be mad at the Most High when he's allowing us to do what we want to do. And I think all of us can agree with that. If we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing to be obstinate and just, keep doing our thing and going our way, he's not going to spend any more time with us. He's just going to let us go our way and hurt ourselves, just like the situation that we're in today. So this in particular Torah portion today, everyone, is going to be very eye-opening. It's very painful though, to be honest with you. It is the beginning of the book of Exodus, known in the Hebrew tongue as Shemot. Okay, and Shemot, I'm going to tell you what that word means, and we're going to get into that today. But yeah, the opening of this is very painful. It's a very painful Torah portion, and it's nothing that I'm excited about. It is something that causes me to think about where I stand with the Most High and what it is that He's looking for from me to understand about Him. Take myself out of the video here. All right.
I,
Can you all see my screen?
yes, I just want to make sure, are we streaming?
Yeah, absolutely. We are. Sure are. Thank you, Dawit. Yeah, we are. Thank you so much for the reminder. All right. So basically, everyone, our Torah portion is dealing with this idea of what they say, Shemot, right? And Shemot again has to do with he, she, name, son, and Shabbat. I've given each one of these chapters, this title, these pronouns, or this noun, or these nouns. And so the first chapter is dealing with Israel as a nation, and the second chapter is pretty much dealing with, the feminine energy that is involved in the this process of the children of Israel and what they're going through. Very important. So it's a he, there's a she. The name is in chapter number 3, which we're going to primarily focus on today. Chapter number 4 deals with the son, which you and I pretty much know who the Most High said his son is. And then, of course, chapter number 5, things begin to get very intense, and that's dealing with the Shabbat. And what I mean by that is that Pharaoh did not want the children of Israel to cease from their work. And so what he did was he increased their burdens. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to tap into a little bit of each one of these areas today. But our main focus today is going to be on the name because that's what Shemot actually means. Shemot actually means names. Okay. That's what it means. It means names. Okay. But I might have name right here from, oh, nope, I'm correct. It's names. So the names that are mentioned in the book of Exodus are important, okay? But we're really not talking about just someone's name. What we're talking about is someone's character. That's what we're talking about. So the Most High is not really concerned with us just knowing their names, like, hey, here's Moses, Aaron, Miriam. He doesn't give certain names to certain individuals, right? So, like Moses' mother, he doesn't say what her name is at this point. He doesn't give the name of Pharaoh's daughter, but he just mentions the daughter. He doesn't give the name of Miriam, doesn't give her name either, but we know that that's who she is. And so, and there's other women whose name wasn't even mentioned as well, right? So, it's really not just talking about the names, it's literally talking about their character. Okay. And one of the greatest names that you and I have been introduced to is going to be the Most High's name. Okay. So what we find in our Haftarah this week, which is a connection to our Torah portion, if those of you who are just now, deciding to listen or follow the class or whatnot, and this is your first time here, what we do is we connect the Torah with what they would call a Haftarah. Okay. And the Haftarah is right here. Okay. And what this basically means is everything that's written in the, the kings or the prophets and these experiences that Israel has had through their history lines up with the Torah. So they're connected. So this week we had our Haftarah, which is in the book of Isaiah called Yashayahu. I'm going to give you both the English and the Hebrew names so you'll kind of know who I'm talking about. And so names do mean things, but they're expressing someone's character. Okay, so this week in your Haftarah, it had mentioned that the Most High is going to give some words, and He's going to tell, the people who He's speaking to about what His plans are. Okay, so here He says, Yahweh who redeemed Abraham concerning the house of Yaakov. Yaakov will no longer be ashamed. No longer will his face grow pale. When his descendants see the work of my hands among them, they will consecrate my name. Okay. Yes, they will consecrate the set apart one. Okay. Yaakov and stand in terror of the Elohim of Israel. So, what does this mean? Well, basically, what the Most High is letting us know through our Haftarah this week was that he wants us to understand the purpose of him coming to the land of Egypt. The purpose of him going to the land of Egypt was to show his work of his hands and to show his power and to show his might. And so basically, that's the purpose of him revealing his name. Because now he's giving us some ideas about, he says, hey, whatever I'm going to do, I'll tell you what I'm going to do from the beginning. I want to tell you the end from the beginning. So when the Most High begins to tell us about this story that's happening in Exodus, he's literally telling us what he is going to do in the future. Okay, so this is the whole purpose of you and I having the Torah portion, whole purpose of us reading the book of Exodus, the whole purpose of us finding out about this story. And there's information that's found within the book, okay, or the scroll of Exodus, Shemot, that is going to tell you about certain elements about the Most High that you need to know. Okay, because what we don't want to happen is for us to ignore the things that we see. Okay. So the Most High is not talking about, well, I'm going to, the children of Israel are going to, they're going to do something and, or I'm going to do something and I don't want them to see it. I just want them to believe. That's not the truth. Okay. So when we're looking at this word for Exodus, the real name is called Shemot. Okay. And Shemot, it has a root to it, a parent root. And the parent root is found in these two letters that you see on your screen, which is the Sheen and the final Mem. All right. And that is this letter right here, is this letter right here. Okay. And the Mem or the Meme is that letter M right there. Okay. So basically, the Hebrew language is only different in not in its sounds, but in the way that the letter looks, okay, or how the letter is established. So up here you have this for an S, okay, and right here in Hebrew is the way this is the way that a SH looks like, okay. So for example, let me slow my roll a little bit. This SH sound right here is represented by this letter right here to give you the same exact sound. Shh. Like you telling someone, shh, be quiet, and you have to use shh. You got to use air and breath to make that happen. You got to use the wind or the air to shh. Okay. So that's what that letter is. Just a quick little Hebrew, right? This letter right here is represented by the letter M right here in English, and it gives you the same sound. Okay. So this is shame. Okay. Okay. So this says it's not shemot, it's shemot. Okay. This is shame. And shame basically means name. Okay. This oat right here that is put on the end of that word shame is to say plurality, names. But its meaning has to deal with how one breathes, how they breathe. And what you're using to breathe with is your wind. And your wind in Hebrew is literally dealing with your character. And basically, you know how the wind moves in different directions? Well, a person moves a certain way. And the way that they're moving is how what their name is. So, for example, Moshe's name means to draw out. He was drawn out. He was named by the princess from Egypt. So he got that name because he was drawn out of the water. So his whole character is about drawing out, right? or, the circumstance in which he was born, he was, protected and someone showed him compassion. So your wind of you, your breath of you, the name of you is how you move, right? And what your character is, So you want to, some people ask, well, Akika, what does this name mean? I've given people all different types of names. I talk to them and I pretty much find out what their character is like and what they're attracted to and what do they do, and then they come up with a name. They rename themselves, right? Like for example, I hope he doesn't mind, but Mashalo is a name that's used for dominion, and it means an individual who's not just dominating, but one who's really about rulership and how things are ran. And how things are organized and how the domain is controlled. It's about a person in rulership. And so, this individual likes to have things organized. This individual likes to keep on track of things. This individual likes to make sure that everyone within his realm is taken care of. So he got that name, right? I named myself Aikika because I want that to be my name. My real name is Dawid, but I want my name to be Akika. And the reason why my name to be Akika is because of what my name represents. My name represents your brother, right? And so what I mean by I'm your brother in the Hebrew, it means that I'm your protector. I'm the strong wall because the first letter of your brother is an aleph and his next letter is a kate, which is that's ak right there. And then the key means my brother and the kika means I'm your brother. So if I'm your strong wall and I'll use my hand to protect you, okay? So I'm interested in protecting people because I'm the strong wall of defense. So if someone's coming against you, I want to be able to help you. And I do that through my teaching. That's what my purpose is. It's to teach you what did the Most High say, not what I'm saying. What did he say? Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. So your name is your character and how you move, okay? How you move in this world, right? There's some key concepts that I do want to talk to you about today. You can write this down if you have some time. And of course, I'm not here to preach to you. I'm here to actually teach. I mean, sometimes I get animated, I get excited because, I get a little overwhelming. I get overwhelmed with information, but that's not my intent. My intent is not to overwhelm you. My intent is to give you information that can help you live a better life and actually help you navigate and walk differently and use your breath and use your wind and use your character on how to navigate through our exile. Okay. So the first word that we have there is Israel. The second one is called Rakam. The third is Olam. And the fourth is Ra. And the fifth is Evid. Okay. So each one of these names or concepts we're going to talk about a little bit today is going with each one of those chapters. So chapter number 1 is really focused on Israel. Chapter 2 is focused on this idea of what we call the Rakam, which I'm going to explain to you. And 3 talks about Olam, which has to do with the name. Okay. And 4 deals with, of course, the sun, the different suns that are mentioned there. And then 5th is talking about the service, which this is the reason why the Shabbat was important. So we're going to talk about those things, okay? So in chapter number 1, dealing with Israel, there is these ideas of multiplicity, how they have begun to multiply, in which the Most High told them that they were going to. This is the reason why he called them to go to Mitzrayim, which he would call Egypt, because that was his purpose. His purpose there was to multiply them and sending them to that land so they can multiply. As we learned in our previous Torah studies, that there was a great famine, and their brother Joseph was there, and they got a land of Goshen, and they got a possession there, and they started living there, and they started multiplying, and that's how the family grew. So the Most High had caused him and told Yaakov, known as Israel, you go down to Egypt and stay there, and when you're there, I'm going to make you into a great nation. So we see that Yah's his words are actually coming to pass because they are multiplying and they're growing so much that individuals begin to be threatened by their presence and who they are and what's happening with them. And so that was a problem for that nation because they felt like the children of Israel would abandon them and that would actually leave them one day and turn on them and go join up with the enemies of that nation. Okay. There's another idea that I want to share with you right quick is found with this grammatical understanding of called a third person masculine singular. In chapter number 1, everyone, when the king of Egypt, which is Pharaoh, when he's talking about Israel, he's talking about Israel as an individual, as one person, okay, in the third person, meaning, hey, they or him, excuse me, him, he, and him. That's how he's being referred to. He's never referred to as them. They're only referred to as a third person masculine singular. So when they're saying that we're gonna do this to him, not to them, we're gonna do this to him, right? So there's no, you know, anyone outside of the nation that can actually say that, hey, I'm not part of this nation, because when it talks about him, he's talking about the whole entire nation, okay? And he's identified as a third person masculine singular. Even the Most High, when he talks about delivering the children of Israel out of their bondage, he says, I'm going to deliver him, third person masculine singular. What I mean by third person, you have first person is the individual who's speaking. Second person is the first person is talking to the second person. Okay. So there's having a conversation. So right now I'm speaking. So I am talking to you. You're the second person. Okay. Now, if we're going to discuss someone else that's not even around, we're going to be talking about them in third person. Okay. And that third person can either be a masculine or it can be a feminine. That third person could be a masculine singular or a feminine singular. That individual that is not standing here in this conversation can be a masculine plural, more than one, a group. That would be them, all males, okay? Or it could be feminine, singular, okay? All females, okay? So you have to know how something is being discussed, okay? So if we're talking about a third person masculine singular, it means that there's a conversation that's going on without this individual knowing about it. They don't even know what's going on because they're not part of the conversation. So someone else is making plans for this individual. Okay. And in our case, it's the whole entire nation of Israel. Okay. Here again, and that's important for us to understand, and I'm going to discuss that a little bit more. I'll come back to it. Okay. Why they are there, they're being afflicted. Okay. And they're experiencing a tremendous amount of cruelty. Right. And of course, as you know, they were murdered. They were murdered. They weren't just murdered through the idea of drowning them as little baby boys. They were actually murdered in a whole bunch of other ways too that no one talks about. So we're thinking that they're just living and they get, they're getting beat and they only got killed when they were, you know, little children, little boys. No, it's deeper than that. Okay. So we're going to go a little bit into that as well. Okay. So I'm going to bring information to you. Again, like I said, this is a very painful lesson. It was for me. So what's important about this, about chapter number 1? What's important is that we're dealing with the seed. Okay. And so as I've taught before, when it talks about a seed in Hebrew, is literally talking about something that's singular. This is a singular word. It's not plural, but it is called a collective noun. So when they say seed, it's talking about one, but it has the ability to grow into many. Okay. So Israel is a seed. That's what Israel is. It's a seed. And so what they're trying to do, so as you can see, that the Most High wants to multiply this seed. Okay. That's what he wants to do. You can see that the others want to afflict and be cruel to it. And the way that they do that is through their actions, through labor, but also too, they want to destroy it, and they want to destroy the seed through murder by killing. Okay. Because that's who they're dealing with. Okay. Chapter number 2 is dealing with this idea called rakam. Rakam is a Hebrew word for what they would call the womb, the W-O-M-B, the womb. Okay. And in the womb, the only ones who have this is what they would call the Hebrew women and women, period, right? So we have the midwives who are mentioned in chapter number 1 and 2. We have the Ivriyah. Ivriyah is an expression for what they call the Hebrew woman. Okay. So a man is identified as someone asks you, well, what are you? A man can say, I'm Ivri. If it's a female, it's Ivriyah. Beautiful, right? She actually gets the Yah part, the Ivriyah. So Ivriyah is a Hebrew woman. Okay. And then we hear about Moses' mother. We hear about Pharaoh's daughter. We hear about Miriam, his sister. We hear about Zipporah. We hear about her sisters, right? And so the idea behind Rakam or these wombs was the fact that the seed needed to receive what you would call mercy, known to us as today as compassion. So the Most High is giving all these examples in chapter number 2 about all these women. So what are we supposed to learn from this? If you read your Torah, then you know what each of these individuals did. The midwives spared the boys, and they were instructed to kill the sons and let the daughters live. You might ask yourself, well, why kill the male? Because that's the one you're going to destroy the seed. So they needed the women to cooperate with them in order to destroy the seed. Now, planning forward thousands of years later, we still have the same problem. What's going on is that the women, more specifically, the Ivriyah, right, is being used and being asked to help destroy the seed. Now, I don't have time to go through all the different ways that this is happening. I don't have time to go through, the single parent families. I don't got time to go through the welfare department. I don't have time to go through, I'm independent. I don't need a man. I don't have time to go through, I'm not going to listen to my husband. I don't have time to go through any of that. But what I want to tell you is this, is that the Ivriyah is the one who is supposed to show compassion because she's protecting the seed for the Most High. And she can demonstrate that like these women did. She can demonstrate that like his mother did. She hid him for 3 months. She can demonstrate her compassion even through Pharaoh's daughter when she saw him and he cried out, and she heard him and she had compassion on him. We see that his sister put him in the water and stayed around to make sure to protect him and see what was going to happen to him. She's the one who interceded on the seed's behalf in order to make sure that nothing happened to him. We see here with Zipporah and her sisters that they were shepherdess, that they were going about and they were doing their father's work and their business by handling his flock for him. See? So these are the examples of these women, and women play a huge role in the survival of the seed. She's not only used to carry it, she's used there to have compassion on it and to protect it. That's why she is the one who has the womb. Because she's able to demonstrate what the Most High himself demonstrates. The Most High himself had created the womb, and he gave it to a woman. He gave it to a woman, and more specifically, the one who's supposed to carry the seed of one of the sons of Israel is only supposed to be an Ivriyah. That's what it's supposed to be, from what we understand now. The Most High does not want us to be engaged with all the other nations because they're not going to have this compassion that our women are supposed to have on the seed of Jacob. Okay? I hope you can pick up what I'm laying down. Okay? Chapter number 3 deals with this idea of olam. Okay? Olam has the idea of what we would call a verb action. Let's see here. Okay? A verb action. And the word olam means always. Okay? And so we're going to talk more specifically about the name of the Most High. Okay? There were some questions asked about his name in chapter number 3 that you and I are going to answer today. And from moving forward, no one will ever be able to deceive you again to make you think that his name is something that it isn't. Okay. So, as your brother, I'm going to share with you the difference between his name operating as a verb and his name operating as a proper noun, or what they would say a personal name. Okay. So, Olam has to do with that. It means forever. I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. Chapter number 4, of course, deals with this idea of Ra. And Ra is evil. That's what it means. It means misery. It means something that's not good. It means something that's not functional. We see in that chapter is dealing with my son, your son, and her son. So where'd you get that from? My son is what the Most High told Moses to tell Pharaoh that, you're treating my son Ra. This is what you're doing to my son. I'm asking you to send my son away. If you don't send my son away, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do what you do to my son. Whatever you do to my son, I'm going to do to your son. Okay. And then we have her son. In the text, in the Hebrew text, it talks about how Zipporah is the one who circumcised her son. Okay. It didn't say Moses' son, it said her son. It's the youngest son of Moshe. Okay. Why is it calling it her son versus his son? It's simply because that's the one that she considered to be hers, right? And that's when, hey, this oldest one is yours. He's the firstborn. The second one, he's mine, right? And this is the reason why he wasn't circumcised, because it was her son. And we see that obviously he circumcised his first son, but he didn't circumcise his second son. He didn't circumcise the baby. So there was a fight and a contention because she said that you're a man of blood. You're a bloody man to me because of this circumcision. When he did it to the first son, there was some contention. There was some hostility about this because she wanted to raise him the way, she didn't know this was going to happen because I didn't know that this is what you guys are into. You're into, cutting foreskin off, and this is foreign to me, all the blood and all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to let you do that to any more of my sons. Right? So it happened to the first one, and now the second one, she didn't want to do it. But it came a point where she had to realize that even though that was her son, she had to circumcise him. Otherwise, the Most High was going to kill Moshe. Okay. This is a time where a lot of, people have a problem, but the Most High said he went to go meet Moses to go kill him. Why? Because of the circumcision that he did not perform on his son. He allowed her to tell him that, no, we're not going to do that. See? So again, that's another problem, right? And that's evil. And that's what we call harm. That's what Ra means. Ra means to do harm. That's what it means. That's what evil is in this in particular text or context that we're talking about. It's harm. So Most High said, if you do my son, you're doing my son harm. I'm going to do your son harm. I'm going to kill your son. Then we see the Most High saying to Moshe, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to meet him because why? Because he's not doing what he was instructed. Because he can't go talk to the children of Israel and deliver the message that I want and not be in order with what was prescribed to the fathers. Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, everybody in Israel, every male must be circumcised. If they're not, then they're cut off from the covenant. They have broken Yahweh's covenant. We can read that in Genesis chapter number 17. Okay. Chapter number 5, of course, is an Eved. And an Eved is a servant and being a slave. And why they're in this idea of being a servant and a slave, they're dealing with the burdens of the people. And they're dealing with all the distractions and they're being overwhelmed. Okay. And they're also told in this chapter that we want you to disregard the message because you're a servant to us. You're bearing our burdens. And because you're listening to the message of your God, we're going to increase your burdens. We're going to overwhelm you even more that you read in chapter number 5. Go get your own straw, make your own bricks, same quota, everything. Expectation is still there, but we're going to turn the heat up now. Okay. We're going to go all the way now. Why? Because you're listening to a different message. So they wanted them to disregard the message as a servant, disregard the message that they heard from the Most High. Okay. And so, what is it about this that we need to worry about? Well, as a servant, Yah's intention is for us, going back to chapter number 5, I said it deals with the Shabbat, is dealing with this man did not want the children of Israel to have any rest, any respite. He doesn't want them to relax on anything. So he doesn't want them to cease from their burdens. And he doesn't want to cease from this because it means that things are going to change. It means that they have time to refresh themselves. That's not the goal. The goal is to destroy your mind and to destroy your body. And this is the purpose of the Shabbat. This is the purpose of why the Most High has given the Shabbat to the children of Israel. I want you to remember this because we're thinking that the Shabbat was just a religious ordinance that the Most High gave to the children of Israel. The whole purpose of chapter number 5 is to increase the burdens and to really overwhelm them, right? And Moses went to the Most High and asked him, I delivered the message, and since we said what you said, everything has gotten worse. This is what happened when we told them what you said. Things got worse. And so things became bad for them, and they didn't want them to cease from this. The Most High is using the burdens and them being overwhelmed to prepare them for his Shabbat. He's making a connection between what people experience and what they're going through and how it affects them physically, mentally, and spiritually. Okay, I don't really like that word spiritually. Cut that. Scratch that out of the tape. I don't like the word spiritual. I'm going to tell you a reason why, because it's not mentioned. That word is never mentioned in the Tanakh. It's never mentioned in the Torah. It's never mentioned in the prophets. It's never mentioned in the Psalms. It's always talked about as our soul and our body. Okay. So what we're talking about is that these people wanted to overwhelm them, and the Most High wanted them to cease from this, but they don't want them to. And so what they're going to do is use everything that they possibly can to destroy them. Okay. And why? Because they want to destroy the seed. They don't want to show any compassion to the seed. They see, so if you look carefully, the seed needs compassion. How often? Always. That's what the seed needs in order for it to thrive. They want to bring harm to the seed. They want to destroy it. Okay. And they're going to be relentless to make this happen. And so they'll use whatever method they need to in order to destroy this, to destroy the third person masculine singular. Because if you could destroy that, then you can end this, which is the multiplying. And the only way you can do that is through this and this. But we need these individuals. I hope you're listening. We need our women. And they need to be compassionate. Always. That's what we need. You understand? So let me be clear. I'm not taking any prisoners, not today. Okay? Jacob needs someone to have compassion on him. Okay? Listen, Moshe's character, the breadth of who he was this, everyone. You read it. He was a protector. He was willing to kill. He was willing to defend. We have all the examples. He killed an Egyptian when he saw something that was out of line. When he went and he left, he went to the well. They tried to rise up against Zipporah and her sisters, and he defended them. This is who he is organically. Okay. But he also had a side of his character that was very fearful. What was he fearful about? He was unwilling to what? Speak. See, he's willing to fight. He's willing to kill. He's willing to do the physical things, right? He's willing to do the things that would be easy to do. But the things that is difficult for him, he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to lead. He had an unwillingness to do this. And that's a problem. Okay. So in his character, and a lot of times we talk about how wonderful Moshe is. Moshe is just like us. He is. The Most High said he's the most humble of all humanity, and he was his servant. And, don't talk bad about him, which is true. But Yah wants us to see something about him. He wants us to see that he even experienced self-doubt. He asked the question, who am I? Me, ani, who am I? Who am I to go and do this? Who am I to go speak to Pharaoh? Who am I to lead the people of Israel out of the land? And so he suffered from what you would call self-doubt. He had some problems. Okay. I want to introduce you to the concept of what they would call parrot. Okay. It means to disconnect and to rip open. When it talked about how the children of Israel were multiplying, as you see in the scripture here, that the Egyptians began to become very afraid of them, and they decided, like, we got to do something about this. So let's start with the labor. Let's start with this, okay? And it talked about how they were relentlessly on them. Okay, that word relentless there is perik, and perik in the Hebrew has to do with an idea of a curtain. Okay, like you have in the tabernacle, there's a curtain that separates one place from the next, right? Just a sheer curtain. So what they were doing, everyone, is they were ripping open their flesh like you would a curtain. They they were disconnecting them through their body. Okay. They were bleeding. They were split open. They were beat. There were, blood. There was blood all over the place, meat, blood. They not only ripped them open by beating them and whipping them. Okay. Reminds you of what happened to the children of Israel when they went into the four corners to be enslaved. They actually disconnected them too. Their brutality wasn't just with whipping, it was breaking them. They would break their arms, they would break their legs, they would do all type of stuff to them. Okay. And they were doing this and they showed no mercy. They had no rakam whatsoever. Going back to the idea of what rakam comes from. Organically from a woman, based on her having a womb, Yah has designed her to be the one to show compassion, to show mercy, not to be relentless like these individuals. Okay. So they were disconnecting them. They were ripping them. They were beating them. They were breaking them. They were doing a whole bunch of stuff to them. They were, hitting them in the back. All you can imagine what they were crushing them. So the story's a lot bloodier, a lot more brokenness than what you and I have been told in our Sunday school lessons. Now, here's the part that I want to bring to your attention. It happened to all the men. Yeah. It happened to the men. The women weren't out there getting beat. They were not out there getting their arms broken. They weren't out there making bricks. They weren't out there. They were at home. They were keepers of the house. And when their husband came home, he was brutalized by some savages. Do you understand? He was treated inhumanely. Harshness all day long, every day, completely miserable. And the reason for this was we need to destroy him. If we destroy the males, the seed, we don't have to worry about these women. We'll plant seed in them and they'll become our women and they'll do what we need them to do. It's keep them alive. But I need you to kill them. I need you to destroy their bodies. So by the time they get off and by the time they go home, this hard labor, this beating and whipping, all this kind of stuff, they're not going to have any desire to multiply anymore. No more sex. No more relief. Most of their time, instead of enjoyment with their woman, they're going to be getting bandaged. And she's going to be sitting there crying. And things are going to go bad in that whole entire, we're going to destroy that family. And we're going to do it, and we're going to get to the males first. We'll take the women. It's not a problem. We'll get them. So the idea behind this perik is to destroy both the body and the soul. We're going to destroy you. See? So when we're talking right now as former religious people, what's going on in our communities right now is we have a whole bunch of idiots that are separating the body from the soul. And now what they're doing is introducing the idea of what they would call the spirit. As long as you have the spirit, that's all you need. You need the spirit of God. And it doesn't matter what your body and your soul goes through because you have the spirit of God. It doesn't matter how many bones are broken, you got the spirit of God. We'll beat the hell out of you. And after we beat you, you have the spirit of God and you can cry out to him. And don't worry about it because you have the fruit of the spirit. They do not care about the body, and neither do they care about the soul that goes together. There's no way possible that you can affect this and not destroy the person, more specifically, the man. Do you understand? So now we understand that, well, it wasn't the women out there where this was happening to, it was happening to the men. Also, this is the reason why you're asking for the woman to show compassion and mercy to her husband? Yeah. Because they had to. That's what they were made for. What is the male anyway? What is his significance? Why is he so important? Why does the Most High say that I want to see him 3 times a year? He has to appear before me. He has to appear before me. Why? Because the man is the memorial. So when the Most High says to the men, you need to show up, he's letting them know, I remember you. I remember what I did for you when you're in the land of Mizraim. I remember how they treated you. They did not take one female and throw her in the water. Wake up, Yisrael. They threw the boys in the water. So how is it that you can read this and you can't even see why the Most High has considered the male to be his memorial? I'm not saying that a woman's not insignificant. I'm kind of letting us know, all of us, how the Most High sees it. I'm advocating for mercy and compassion, the very thing that the Most High himself is going to do for the children of Israel, which he's expecting from his people. You don't get mercy while you're just, out of the, you're going to take us out only, and that's when we receive the mercy. No. The children of Israel, while they're in their situation, they're supposed to receive mercy. Even the Most High said, when you're in the lands of your enemies and you're in exile, I'm going to reverse your exile and begin to have people show you compassion. Like an Ivriyah, like a female Hebrew woman. This is important. I don't want you women to think that you don't matter. I'm going to show you that you do. Just hold on tight. Okay? Just hold on for a second. Here, the Most High, let me find this. I'll get there in a second. I ain't gonna rush it. The name of the Creator, the one who is going to show mercy and compassion, to his son, the nation of Israel. Okay. In the Hebrew, in chapter number 3, you hear a lot of people say that they use the term when he says his name is I am. His name is not I am, which they have here in Hebrew, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. That's not his name. That is the verb of his name. That's the action of his name. And it's something that has to do with the future. He's going to say that I will be. Okay. The I will right here is found in this letter right here. Right here. Okay. Look on the right hand side of the screen and you see that there's another letter, which is a yod right here. Right. They have very similar letters. Here's the hey right here. Here's the hey right here. Here's the vav right here, or the wa. Here's the yod right here. And here's another hey right here. And here's another hey. So these are connected. Okay. Grammatically, they're connected. They're letters. They have a lot of similar letters. Okay. But this aleph in front of this word right here tells you means I will. I will be. I will become. Because they were going to ask the question, well, what is his name? So you have this conversation today going on saying that his name is Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. They like to say that because it sounds cool, right? Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. You know, a lot of people get caught up on the language and be like, you know, Kadosh or High Mishpachah or, the Ruach HaKodesh. You know, we're so fascinated with words and we don't even know what they really mean. We just say stuff. Okay. I used to do that until I found out how ignorant I was and how I didn't know what this meant. And I got tired of being stupid. Just like the scripture said, if you make yourself stupid, you'll be stupid. See, he uses the word stupid, right? So if we make ourselves stupid, you're going to be stupid, right? He doesn't want us to be stupid. He wants us to do our research and find out what things mean. Verbs and nouns are completely different. So what's going on is individuals are using Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh and saying that's the Most High's name. And it's not. It's the action of his name. Yah's personal name is Yod He Wah. That's his name. He says, this is my name forever. Chapter number 3, verse number 15. That's my name. Children of Israel ask, what is my name? What is his name? He's going to say, my name is this. He didn't say his name was Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. He tells you that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do certain things for them. Okay. So that's the action of his name. And it's always used in a future tense. Okay. Here it's a personal. It's a proper noun. This is my name. So Yod He Wah is Yahweh's name. These are the letters of his name. Some people call him Yahweh. Some people call him Yahweh. Some people call him Yahuwah. Some people call him Yahweh. Some people call him all different things. Okay. But that's not what's important. What we're talking about is his character. That's what we want. We don't really want to just say, well, I just know the name. Everyone can say these names, but do they know what his character is? So when I talk to people and they say they use the word Yahuwah, I know that they don't know Yah. You say, well, how is that? I thought you said the name didn't matter. No, because Yahuwah is the God of the New Testament. That's the God of the New Testament. That's what they call him. When you talk to someone, they say Yahuwah, then you know that they ask him, do you accept, you believe in that Christ character? And they'll say, yeah. Ask him, and they'll say, yeah. See? But when you say Yahweh, or you say Yah only, then you know that there's no one else. It's completely different, okay? Here, the name Yod He Wah, or the Tetragrammaton, that's what they call it. I don't want to get into that. Is used 6,828 times. 6,828 times. Okay? Found throughout the Tanakh. The question is, how many times is it used in the New Testament? Somebody give me an answer.
0 times.
Absolutely 0. So if this is his name forever, Olam, remember we talked about what Olam is? It's always Olam. This is his name forever. It is never going to change. Never. Okay. So mark that down. Ask someone, how many times is his name used in the New Testament? And they said, well, it's used there in Hallelujah. No, show me where his name is used. Show me where the apostles use his name. Show me where Christ himself has even mentioned his name. Like he said in John 17, that I revealed your name. I declared your name. I made your name known. Then why is everybody talking about Christ's name and not the Most High's name? I'm going to tell you the reason why. They don't want you to know Yah's name. He says, my name, my shimmy, my name. What is my name? Why are they doing this? What don't they want you to know about him? They don't want you to remember his name. They want you to forget his name, just like your ancestors. They want you to forget his name and call on the name of Baal, which is Lord in English. This is the reason why they replace his name with the word Lord throughout the whole entire Bible. They'll capitalize it. Everywhere where you see the word Lord capitalized in the Old Testament is where the Most High's name, Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, is supposed to be. They changed it. They don't want you to know his name. So they'll come up with their dreams and they'll come up with their visions and they keep telling each other all these different things. They'll bring all this confusion, all this stuff, their dreams, so you could forget Yahweh's name. The most important name there is. And why is it important? Why is his name, his Shemi? And you could use that for yourself. When you talk to someone, you say, well, they ask you in Hebrew, what's your name? You say, my Shemi is Akika, Shemi Mashalo, Shemi Rivkwa, Shemi Ranik, Shemi Imiyah, Shemi Kobe. That's your name, Shemi. Shemi is neutral for everybody. My name. You could use this. You can use Shemi. Okay, so Hebrew words you can use. Okay, so my character is this. Do you understand? I finally arrived to the slide for the ladies and the women. I want you to know something. I want you to understand that I know and that the Most High has revealed to us that the men weren't the only ones who suffered. By no means at all. No means at all. He got the brunt of all of it, but that affected everybody. That affected the children. That affected the wife. That affected the mother. That affected the grandmother. That affected the grandpa. That affected the neighbors. It affected everybody was messed up. Everyone received trauma. Trauma. We were traumatized. Do you understand? Which causes the mental illness and the depression and the anxiety and the physical illnesses. Not only structurally, but also internally. You and I are not even hip on the game that whatever you're thinking is affecting your body. Your body and your soul. Not this idea of your spirit. Sometime during those many years, because it didn't happen just for a few years, it happened for many years, people. Hundreds of years. The king of Egypt died, but the people of Israel still groaned after the one who set up everything died. They still groaned under the yoke of slavery, and they cried out, and their cry for the rescue from their slavery came up to Elohim. And Elohim heard their groaning. And Elohim remembered his covenant. That's the connection. And the connection was with our fathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You saying he didn't remember Sarah? Sarah is part of Abraham. Oh, he didn't remember Rivkah? He remembered Yitzchak. He had to remember her. Don't you understand that you're connected? Whoever your husband, you're connected to Yah through your husband. Leah was connected to Yaakov. Raquel was connected to Yaakov. That's how you get your connection. Do I have to be circumcised, Akika? I'm a female. You're connected to the one who's circumcised. Why didn't he ask me to go up 3 times a year and just only the males? Because you're connected to the man. He tells the man, bring you, your wife, your family, your children, your servants, your animals, bring them all and come bring your whole entire house and celebrate before me. The groan and the sign, the anak, happened with both of them because they're connected. She experienced the same trauma. She's the one who had to deal with it when he came home. When he did come home, if he came home. She's the one who had to bandage the broken arms or the spine. There was no medical treatment. There was no wheelchairs back then. You're talking about some savages that hit you in your spine and break your damn back, and then if you can't work, then that's it. That's over for you. She had to deal with that. Not only physically, but mentally. A person that he's snapping all the time because of the way he's treated. She got the trauma too. But Yah remembered it, and he remembered the covenant, and he heard them. He heard this groaning in this sign. They wanted relief for their body and their soul. Because that's what a knock means. It means to continue outside. And from a perspective of agriculture, it would have to do with the sheep and its shepherd, right? So the shepherd is going and taking the sheep and guiding the sheep on a journey to bring them to rest. And so when these individuals, the husband is a knocking and the wife is a knocking and she's groaning and everyone's in pain, people, for years and years and years and years and years. And there ain't no let up on it. And even the guy who died is still continued. They're looking for rest. See? And you see this in this word. In English, it'll be an N and a CH. Nach. Okay? If I put a Oak in there, you got Noach. Talking about Noah. That's his real name. Noach means rest. Okay? If I take that same word, knock, and put the A on it again, and made a knock. This is our word for anach. A-N, anach. Nu, anachnu. I'm missing a word. I'm missing a vowel in there. Forgive me. There's a Hebrew word for we or us. It's called anak. Nu. That means we or us in the first person common plural. You get your word ani or anoki from this word. Same letters. You got ani for I, and you got anoki. Which means I as well, or I am. Okay. Same thing. Okay. So talking about the first person, whether common or plural, we all have a groan. They're not the only ones. They were requesting from Yah to bring them to their rest. They want rest, not only physically, but emotionally. It's too much. It's too much. I use the term zakar again because zakar has to do with the male. It has to do to remember. It has to do with a reminder. So because of this cry, we find in Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu chapter number 30, where the Most High had asks a question. He says, why cry that your wound and pain are past healing? I have done these things to you because of your great wickedness and because of your many sins. That word for wickedness is ra. Okay. And even in that word ra, you have the name for what they would call, oops. Know him as Pharaoh, but his name is Paro. Okay. The word Ra, the letters of Ra are in his name. That means in this letter right here, the P of that is the P. That means to speak. That means a mouth in the Ra. Pharaoh, right? This is how you spell his name. Like that. That Ra right there is evil. Okay. This word right here, Ra, is this one right here. Okay. So when the Most High is telling us to remember, because he's dealing with the males. That's what Zakar means. It means male. It means reminder. It means remembrance. It means memorial. Yah's name is a memorial. He's always telling us to remember, remember, remember. Let me give you a reminder. So when we're focusing on the males and I'm bringing out what's going on with the males, I don't want you to get it twisted to think I'm just saying, oh, please feel sorry for the males. I'm trying to get you to see the male because Yah wants us to remember. He wants us to remember the wounds and the pain, not only of Egypt, because this whole thing right here is different. The wounds and the pain that they received was by the hands of other people. They didn't do anything. Psalm said the Most High delivered them, so that he caused those people to do that to them. Here in Jeremiah 30, he's telling us, why are you crying about your wounds and your pains? And it's your past healing. Why are you crying about this? I have done these things to you. Most High has done this. I need you to remember it. Why? Because of your great wickedness and because of your many sins. So he's telling us, I need you to remember why this is happening to you. You can see what happened to them, but Yah shows us what happened to them because he wants us to understand how you and I, how he delivered them, and then you and I went back to it. We're the ones who cause our own pain. So now we're out here blaming, of course, the white man. And we're blaming everyone else. We blame Esau. We blame, the pastors. We blame the Christian church. We blame America. You blame everybody else because you don't remember that the one who's caused this is the Most High. Why? Because of our wickedness and because our sins. Do you understand? So the pain and the experiences that we're having right now is because of what we've done. And Yah can use whoever he wants to make it happen in order to bring about his word. So the males are not there just to feel sorry for her. They're there to remember. What does he want us to remember? What wounds? What are you talking about, Akika? What's the pain that we're experiencing? Here's some of them. I'm not going to read them. I want you to read them. These are just some of them. This is not all of it. You pick which one belongs to you. This is how we've been coping with our pain and our wounds. We know we're messed up, but we just don't want to admit it. We don't want to say that we're sorry. We want to act like everyone else is doing it to us. But this right here is the results of not doing what Yah said. These are just some of them. So you pick which one belongs to you. As if you have the courage to be honest with yourself. Are you the one who's in denial? Are you the one who's refusing to acknowledge a problem? Or its severity? Is you try to act like it's not happening? This is called psychological problems. This is called emotional problems. Are you the person that's always ruminating on negative thoughts, going over and over and over and over again, and you don't think that that's going to affect you, and you don't think that's going to affect your family, you don't think that's going to affect everybody else around, you don't think it's going to affect your organs in your body, you don't think it's going to affect your sleep, you don't think it's going to affect how you interact with other people, you don't understand the harm that you're doing to yourself? Whatever it is that you and I are doing, we're doing it to ourselves. And other people are, of course, having to bear that because you and I are not strong enough to learn how to manage and cope with the things that we're dealing with. The things that are listed here are just some of the things. This ain't all of it. This is what we get for not doing what the Most High said. So instead of us dealing with our sins, dealing with our wickedness, dealing with our rebellion, we look for other things to how we can cope with our situation. For example, you got the people out here saying that, oh, well, Yeshua died for us and it's all spiritual. It's not the flesh. You can't do the flesh. The law is the flesh. No. So they turn it on the spirit. They're looking for an out on how, instead of having to deal with the reality that right now we are wounded. Right now we are sick. Right now there's a problem. As a people. Why are you yelling? Because I'm mad. Because we're not accepting the fact that the Most High has been talking to us and telling us, these are your issues. These are your problems. This is what's going on with you. No, that ain't wrong with me. Ain't nothing wrong. I'm completely okay. I got money. I got a job. I got a career. I got a husband. I got a wife. I got kids. We go on vacation. It's not a problem. You're tripping. This is a result of us not doing what the Most High said. The only one who can heal us from this is the Most High. Now, are we the only ones who have this problem? No, Dawid had the problem. And he gives us what you call a reminder. He actually gives us Psalms chapter number 38, that gives us a reminder talking about a zakar. The same word for male is the same word for reminder. Why is Yah reminding us? I want you to remember about Egypt. I want you to remember what happened. Not just so you can say you got beat. I want you to remember that, guess what? You're the one who brought this on yourself now. You've done yourself more harm, and you're going to blame other people for it. You don't want to change the mindset. Why? Because you like it. You like staying in that position. King Dawid gives us a reminder. He said, Yahweh, don't rebuke me when you're angry, or discipline me when you are enraged, or your arrows penetrate me deeply and your hand is pressing me down. Same word for Misraim, for czar, meaning you putting pressure on me. Your indignation left no part of me intact. Yah's doing this. My sin made my whole body sick. You're wondering why you have high blood pressure? You're wondering why you can't get it together? You wonder why your thoughts are scattered all over the place? You wonder why you're looking for other things to do? It's because of your sin. Your iniquity. He said, my iniquities, they loom high over my head as a heavy burden. Just like the burdens that were in Mitzrayim. Except for these are things that Dawid was doing. He says, they're too heavy for me. I have stinking, festering wounds, just like the beatings that the people in Israel, the males, were getting in Egypt under their oppression. Egypt is a picture of oppression because of, in our case in exile, because of our sins. It was because he wanted to show his name to them and show his power to deliver us from there. Yah wants to deliver us from our stinking, festering wounds. Even though he's the one who's caused it, he still is the one who's going to be the one who's going to heal us. You and I cannot escape all the other items that was just mentioned in our previous slide. Without Yahweh, you're not going to get out of it. Even while we're still in our exile, we're still going to suffer from these things because we're wounded. We're wounded. And he's the only one that can heal us. There's no man that's going to come and heal you. Christ, your Savior, those who are listening by live, he hasn't healed us as a people. You don't even recognize that you're stinking, you're festering, you're bleeding. And he says, why? Because of all my foolishness. He needed to be reminded. He needs to remind himself that when things happen to us, it's because of our part that we played in it. We have to stop blaming other people for the things that are going on with us. We have to address those areas and stop pretending like it ain't real, it ain't happening. Not to me. There was a concept that I found in my study this week, and it's called Zaman. And Zaman basically means an appointed time, right? So we want rest. We want to be able to breathe again. We want to take a long, deep breath. We want to be guided on a journey to get to the water. Last week, we talked about how a lot of people got a problem when I say this. If he was shepherding us, you and I would not be groaning. If Yahweh was shepherding us, we wouldn't be sick. Go read it in Deuteronomy chapter number 7. You won't have any diseases of the people around you if you do what I told you. But guess what? Let's make it spiritual. Let's make it magical. Let's act like it doesn't happen. Let's keep pretending that we're in that this is just something that happened to us, that we didn't have no part in it. That everyone else did it to us except for you and I. Let's keep playing church. Let's keep acting like, we're saved and, Christ became, he became our Savior and we don't have a burden anymore. The yoke has been taken off us, even though we're eating afflicted bread and we're sick. Even though our water is contaminated, let's act like God is with us. Let's act like that he loves us and he gave us his Holy Spirit while you and I are being oppressed because of our own sins. Let's act like those sins don't even exist. Let's like they're all forgiven, but yet we still got to go through the process because it's not a physical thing. It's not having anything to do with your body. It's all spiritual. Because the flesh profiteth nothing. No one cares about the flesh. That's what they think. That's what they're saying. But there's an appointed time for everything. King Shlomo said it in Proverbs. I think Proverbs or Ecclesiastes. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a time for war. There's a time for peace. There's a time to speak. There's a time not to speak. There's a time to embrace. There's a time to refrain from embracing. There's a time to plant. There's a time to root up. There's a time to build. There's a time to tear down. There's a time. There's a time to sing. There's a time to dance. There's a time for hate. There's a time for peace. There's a time. And Yah says that I have seen how my people have been oppressed. Yah sees it. I know how they're being oppressed in Egypt, and I heard their cry for release for their slave masters because I know their pain. I know their pain. I've seen it and I know it. I have come down to rescue them, and that right there is rescue him, not them, from the Egyptians, and to bring him. I left it them. And I italicized it just so you can know how the English language is, kind of making us think something. Because you and I, we don't really think that he's really talking about his people as a unit. See, he's talking about him as an individual, as his son. He says, I have come down to rescue him from the Egyptians and to bring him up out of that country to give a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the place where the Canaanites, the Kiti, the Imri, the Perizi, the Kiwi, and the Yavusi, where they are. So any type of rescue that you and I, as a nation, as an individual, as a nation, as a he, that the Most High is going to bring out, and after he sees what's going on, we're going to talk about a little bit next week about exactly what his intention is about rescuing us. He's going to bring us out to somewhere that's good and spacious. And guess what, people? It's not spiritual. It's literally physical that you're going to bring your body and your soul that the Most High is going to rescue. He's not rescuing your spirit. He's rescuing you and everything that goes along with you. There's an appointed time for comfort. Most High is interested. He wants us to be comforted. And look what he says to his servant, because there's a time for it. He says, here's what Yahweh, the Redeemer of Israel, his set apart one, says to the one despised, because you're hated, okay, whom the nations detest, the servant of tyrants. When kings see you, they will stand up. Princes too will prostrate themselves because of Yahweh who is faithful. The set apart one, Kadosh of Israel, has chosen you. So that when they see you, what do you mean? They don't see you now? They see you now, but they don't see you in your soon to be form of the one that was been chosen. They don't see that. They don't see you that you're the servant that Yah chose. They don't see that. But when they do see you, they're going to stand up. And it says they're going to prostrate themselves. That means they're going to bow down. And here, prostrate is worship. They're going to worship you. They're going to fall down on the ground. Why? Because the set apart one, not two, not three, the set apart one, Yahweh, the Redeemer of Israel, has chosen you. Huh? Here is what Yahweh says. At the time, going back to the idea of the Zaman, at the appointed time when I choose, I will answer you. Like he did with the children of Israel when they're in Egypt. He chooses when to respond. He chooses the time. He chooses the place. He chooses the method. He chooses the manner. He chooses whatever he wants to choose. He chooses the plagues. He chooses what he wants to do at the time he wants to do it. But I'll answer you on the day of salvation. And he's not talking about when some hippie was hung from a cross. He's not talking about when some Roman soldiers beat the snot out of somebody and put them up on a tree, and then all of a sudden he calls him the king of the Jews. And he never was a king, never sat on a throne, never was anointed. He's not talking about the one that people are saying that was God, that came down to become a man in order to go to the bathroom and go to sleep. He's not talking about that God. He said, I will help you. Your help will bring you back. Your help, it will only be found in Yahweh in the day of his salvation. There's a day that's coming when you will be delivered from your problems, like our ancestors were. I will help you, okay? I have preserved you. I have appointed you to be the covenant for a people to restore, meaning to establish the land and and distribute again its ruined inheritances and to their owners, and say to the prisoners, come out, and to those in darkness, show yourselves. They will feed along the paths, and all the high hills will be their pastures. They will be neither hungry nor thirsty. And you and I we're talking to some Christian, or we're talking to some religious nut job, they would tell us that this is spiritual, which is completely abstract. When the Most High brought the children of Israel, even while they were in Egypt, he did signs and wonders that were physical. When he gave Moshe signs, they were physical. You see? So the hunger, they're not going to be hungry. They're not going to be thirsty. Neither is the scorching wind, which is not spiritual, or the sun, which is not spiritual, will strike them. That means that Yah is going to bring you to absolute comfort. Why? Because he who has mercy, he has rakam. Do you not know that rakam is from Yah? This is why it's so important for Ivriah to be able to demonstrate that she has compassion on the seed of Jacob. Because you share in that. You share in the rakam of the Most High. And a man himself is supposed to show compassion on them. He's going to show them the rakam. He's going to show them mercy, and he's going to show them compassion. He will have it on them when he leads them and he guides them to the springs of water, not to your guide, Yeshua the Christ. And the leading and the guiding is by the staff of the Most High, the shepherd. You understand? The guiding here is by the shepherd. That's when you know that the Most High is leading and guiding you when you're no longer hungry and when you're no longer thirsty. And that's going to be at a time when He chooses, not when you and I say it is. So what are you trying to do, Akika? I'm trying to break us from the idea of Christianity. I'm trying to break us from the idea of all this spiritual nonsense. There is an appointed time. There will be witnesses to testify to the fact that Yahweh has comforted you. You understand? There are witnesses that are going to testify that you have been comforted by Yahweh. He's not going to comfort a few people in a city that sings a couple of songs to him on Sunday. He is literally going to comfort his people, all of them. Nacham. Sounds like Rakam, but it's Nacham. Okay? I'm going to comfort my people. I'm going to have Rakam on my people who have suffered. So he's calling on the witnesses, which is the heavens, to what? I want you to sing. But I don't hear the song because you haven't been comforted. I want the earth to break out into a song. Well, what do you mean? I haven't heard the song. Because you haven't been comforted. Why? Because Yahweh hasn't shown you the Rakam yet. He hasn't delivered you. So why are we going around saying that we're delivered? Why are we going around saying that I'm comfortable? Why are you going around saying that you're not broken? Why are you saying that you're not sick? Why are you saying that you're not suffering? Why are you declaring something that the Most High did not say? What gives us the right to say anything outside of what he said? We will not say nothing that the Most High didn't say. Oh, that's your interpretation. No, it's not. It's what he said. Shemi. His name is Yahweh. That is his name. That is his name. And after he decides, at the time that he chooses, to bring us comfort and to show us Rakam, mercy, then he says, therefore I will make them know once and for all, I will make them know my power and my might. Then they will know that my name is Yahweh. They'll know my Shemi. Shemi is Yahweh. When what? When, Yahweh? When will they know? They will know when they see my power and they will see my might. Just like he did in Egypt, this is what he's going to do to the whole entire planet. You read this in chapter number 16. You read the previous verses. It says that all the nations are going to come and say, hey, we've inherited nothing but lies. Our ancestors have given us nothing but lies. So when he talks about this, when they're going to know, they have to see it. Okay? It's not a belief system. You know, I need to believe. And, I believe like Abraham did. No, Yah's not asking you to believe. We started off with, he said, my people will know this when they see it, when they see the work of my hands. These people are going to know once they see it too. When they see this, they're not going to believe about my power and my might. Oh, well, what about Christ? Because he's the power and he's the might on the mighty of the Jesus on the cross. He's the one who died for our sins. God showed his power and his might through, destroying sin. But even though everybody keeps sinning, and we're in a new covenant that says that, I'll write my Torah on their hearts, but no one will have to ask to know Yahweh, for they'll all know me from the least unto the greatest, and no one will teach them anymore. Well, guess what? They don't know the Torah. Guess what? Yah hasn't revealed his power. They haven't seen his might. They don't know him. They don't know his name. And the New Testament has not provided you with any evidence whatsoever to show Yahweh's name. Yahweh's power has not been demonstrated on the whole entire planet. Hasn't happened. Not yet. Not for us. See? So this is when they're going to know, and this is when you and I are going to know. Because our first opening verse was, when they see this, they're going to have nothing but dread. When they see it, see what? Yahweh's power, see his might, see the power of his hand. Then they're going to know my name. They're going to know my character. It's not just my name they're going to know. They're going to know my character. They're really going to know what Yahweh's character is. They're going to know this by what he's going to do to them. And when you're talking about, hey, our ancestors inherit nothing but lies, that's not a conversation that they're just going to go up and say, you know, Yahweh, our ancestors inherit nothing but lies. No, that's a conversation that they're having when they're going to be crying out. They're like, oh my God, we've been lied to. That's what they're going to say. We didn't know that this was coming. I want you to study, and I want you to learn for what? For yourselves. I want you to learn for yourself. That's what you and I have to do. You can't study for nobody else. You can't learn for nobody else. You can't experience for nobody else. You can't die for nobody else. You can't live for nobody else. You can't eat for nobody else. You can't think for nobody else. You can't heal for nobody else. Then all of a sudden now you and I think that we can convince somebody of anything. You cannot convince anybody to do anything. It has to come from within. It has to come from deep within their own mind, the crevices of their deepest layer of who they are. It's not our jobs to tell people what their problems are. You're not their shepherd. Let them figure it out. Hell, you could tell them, hey, look, this is damaging. This is going to be bad for you. Guess what they'll say? I don't see it like that. My poor mother, when she was alive, I used to tell her all the time, Mama, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do that. And she'd be like, oh, David, I know what I'm doing. I'm good. She didn't see it the way I saw it. And I regret that I didn't even have the wisdom to know that instead of me just keep pressing her about what she needed to do to change, and it bothered me. I should have just left it alone. I should have enough wisdom to know, like, I can't tell anybody what to do. I can't instruct people how to live. Like you all, they're on here live and watching. I'm not here to tell you how to live. I'm here to bring something to your attention, and I'm sharing information. That's what the Most High has called me to do. I love teaching. I love finding out things. I love what he said. But I'm not here to change your mind. This is not what this is about. I'm not here to get you to join and say, well, join the group. Come on, come in and listen and learn. I'm not. If you want to, you will. If you don't want to, you're not. We have to learn how to cope with what we need to deal with for ourselves. You see? And by no means at all, none of us are perfect. We saw that today. Moshe, he had a willingness to go ahead and kill people. But when the Most High asked him to do something, no, I can't do it. But you just killed a man. You were ready to beat everybody up and fight for these women because you want them to do the right thing at the well, and got a wife out of it, and got somewhere to live and everything, got kids and family and all that, got a father-in-law. So Yah can use the parts of us that we're not even aware of. The Most High knew that Moshe was the guy. He knew that, and Moshe didn't see that. He couldn't see it because he was so focused on about what I can't do versus what I can. So my job is just to show us that, you know what? We're just like everyone else. We all are. And we don't have the right to judge one another in the sense that when you find someone that is not living according to the way that the Most High is instructing them, I challenge you not to get angry at them. I challenge you just to look at them and show some compassion. Compassion doesn't mean acceptance of stupidity, by the way. It means just kind of sit back and show them some compassion. Most High is showing us compassion because he sees that we need him. We need to be healed. But he's not going to get involved, as he's shown us, until you and I acknowledge that we're sick and until we need help. When you cry out to the Most High, it's because you acknowledge where you're at in your life. And you need to acknowledge that no one can do that for you. There's no other nation that cried out to the Most High except for Israel. They called out to the God of their fathers. They didn't even know his name. So when he says, they asked me, what's your name? It's not, they didn't know his name. They didn't know Yah's name. And I'm going to show you that next week. They did not know Yah's name. They didn't know his character. They didn't know who he is. They didn't know what he's about. Yah's telling us who he is through these stories. But you know what the trippy part is? Is that Yah is showing us that I can heal you and I can deliver you. And I want to. I want your cry to be the real one. I want you to be ready to go to rest from what it is that you're experiencing. He's shown me that everything that I'm experiencing physically and emotionally is because I didn't want to do what he says. Whatever context that is. I don't know if it was my previous time I was here. I don't know if it's now. I don't know when it is. I'm experiencing the discomfort in a lot of areas in my life because not because it just happened to me. It's because it's been written. It's been written in a book that this is what I was going to experience. And those experiences are supposed to cause me to cry out to the Most High while I'm in my pain and my discomfort and ask not to necessarily just, hey, give me a relief right now so I can go back and do what I want to do, but give me a relief for real one, not a temporary. I don't want a temporary relief. I want the real one. I want to be delivered from where I'm at. And that means that I can't hold on to where I'm at. I got to be willing to let it go. And by the way, the mindset that you and I have right now is the mindset that's going with you when you leave this place. So there ain't no abracadabra. There ain't no magic pill that you're going to be able to take to switch up and change your mindset when you get out to the wilderness. If this is the mindset that you have right now, then that's the one that's going with you. There is no magical pill here. You understand? So if you're, you're angry and bitter and all that, you think because the Most High is going to show up, all of that's going to disappear. It doesn't work like that. It's not magical. You're going to bring that same attitude out into the wilderness, just like your ancestors did. And if you don't have it within you to recognize that you're injured and you're wounded because of your own crimes and your own sins and your own wickedness, and you're not willing to make the changes and address those issues, not so you can heal yourself, but so you can recognize that it's the Most High who's done this to you, then you still ain't learned. And at that moment, there's nothing else to be done. We're sent into exile to learn from what we've done and to say that we're sorry and to turn back to the Most High and say not that everyone else has done it, but he has done it. That's the study for yourself.